We've made it to part 4 of our Rails to the Beach series, following the COOS Bay rail line job from the North Spit to North Bend and back. During this installment, we will follow the job up the 2005 built spur to Southport Lumber. First, the locomotives must couple to a string of empty center beam cars set out a Cordis siding. From here, it's nearly 4 miles to the Southport Lumber Mill up the branch. The end of the line has no runaround track, only spurs leading to the mill, necessitating a shove move. According to Southern Pacific timetables, Cordis siding is 2,500 feet long. The spur in the foreground leads to the original North Spit industrial site. Once the train clears the sharp curves, the engineer will open up the throttle with a plume of smoke as they increase speed on the concrete ties and 136-pound rail. In the 1980s and 90s, environmental lawsuits and a changing marketplace led to the shutdown of many lumber mills in southern Oregon. These mills depended on a supply of old-growth timber, a commodity more and more difficult to secure. This is Southport Lumber Mill as it exists today, the new kid on the block in an old man's lumber yard. The track layout at Southport Lumber is a curious one, with no runaround track at the end, and yet there's one south-facing spur and then inside a north-facing spur. This makes it necessary for machine operators at the mill to move the cars onto the south portion of the track for the train to pick up once the south spur cars have been pulled. The mill can load about 4 center beams per spur. Take note of the log size on this truck going by, because that's a crucial part of the story. In 1998, the young entrepreneurial spirit of Southport's founders saw an opportunity in using small logs, which were at the time being used for chipping. The idea for making lumber out of pulp logs got them laughed at by the banks and others entrenched with the old-school timber mentality. However, all it took was one mind to be changed, and Western Bank provided the loan to open a small mill on Highway 101 south of Millington in 1999. This small log idea worked, and improvements were being made early on. Using a supply of small logs which other mills turned their noses at was a big advantage for a mill extracting value from a low-cost raw material. Soon it became clear Southport needed to move to a larger location with rail and water access. They found a land parcel on the North Spit with a barge slip, but no rail service. The Port of COOS Bay agreed to extend their tracks to the site in exchange for the opportunity to gain the mill as an anchor tenant to hopefully attract other businesses. And so the partnership began, and the mill opened in the fall of 2005. Another curiosity is that the tail spur only has a capacity of about 4 cars. This creates a switching problem in case the train has 8 cars, a full spot to provide, plus 8 cars to pull. I had to puzzle in my mind how they would do it, since I didn't have an example before me. But with pen and paper, I figured out a way they could. I wonder if you can. There are 2 last locomotives we haven't addressed yet in this consist. Both are MP15 DCs, 15 for 1500 horsepower. CBRL 1869 was built in March 1975. It was delivered as the Chicago and Northwestern 1311. UP changed its road number to UPY 1324, and CBRL acquired it in 2019. The CBRL 1859, also an EMD MP15DC, was built in November 1982, was delivered as Missouri Pacific 1384. It kept its road number as it went to UP and then WRIX. CBRL acquired it in 2018. Another day brings another train of high-quality products from Southport Lumber. Now let's watch the train highball past us on this very well-built branch. This series is nearly complete, so be watching for the rear marker in Part 5.